Lady Jill Biden with a shocking admission about her husband's disastrous debate against President Trump. That debate called for former President Biden to drop out of the race.
I'm going to continue to monitor the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump? I really don't know what he said at the end of this. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Now the former First Lady is speaking out. She's got a book coming, and she said this to CBS.
I was frightened because I had never, ever seen Joe like that before or since. Never since. Yes. And therefore, often I went in and as I watched it on the guy's having a stroke. And it's still with them.
And many of the hosts of Saturday in America to tell us about numbers. She's here with us now. This is what Jill Biden, the First Lady, said to the president. So now we know that this is what she's saying in her book, and the question I'd love to ask her is, were you lying then or now?
Great question. That is not the reaction of someone who believes they just watched their husband have a stroke. It is an absolute lie. It was fraud, what she did, fraud on the American public. And she's continuing it by saying she had never seen him like that before or after. Dana, you'll remember Carl Bernstein. He said he talked to people who knew Joe Biden, loved Joe Biden, supported Joe Biden. They were adamant that what we saw was not a one-off. They said it happened 15 or 20 times prior. They're leaving the subscibe and fundraiser where he throws out the student on some type of rigor mortis. This is not something that was a one-off. There was reporting, and that's reporting. You don't believe me that way? I wouldn't even need to secure the entire for reporters debating how dead the president secured in 2020 and fell to 40%. This is well known. So why does she keep up this fraud?
Jill Biden's selling a book right now. There's a book that you can read it. In the meantime, the Biden team is trying to prevent these reporters from going public, right? They're saying this is a private conversation that took place many years ago, where the president was asked about it yesterday.
Came very close to destroying our country. We can never let it happen again. And I hope that you're able to produce that. I think it would be a very interesting reading of people.
So these are audio recordings, and they're not listen to around 2017, 2018, they was rather this is the ways to keep papers that relate to those things in the book.
Well, I don't know. This is what 17, 18, 19. Remember, he was trying to for the son. It is we've been employed over time.
And it's tough stuff. 2023 election. We've heard other aspects of this, but they don't seem to get. Are we entitled to hear all of this?
Yes.
We should.
We should.
Should we keep it quiet?
We should hear all of this. Because in the wake of Robert Mueller coming out and saying that Joe Biden was a sympathetic, well-meaning, elderly man for the remember the Vice President Kamala Harris got out on TV and said that the way the president's doing on the court was characterized could not be more wrong than that. We told that that did not sound the way it happened. We the biggest mix-up that the Congress would not even a special committee to look at the cover-up of the president's comments. If this is all we get, he takes the American public deserves that because we haven't got answers.
That's the case, then I'll talk to you. Right? Goes on.
Well, also, I mean, the Democrats can't buy a break. All the books keep coming out, and Kamala Harris really wants to run for president. She's going to have to answer it as well.
Well, along with Pete Buttigieg, too.
Oh, we look forward to that.
the outreach to the community. Made a lot of steps. Getting accepted along at the local outreach.
Sports and running on the track and field is changing college basketball, college sports, especially football, college sports. Now, Congress is trying to step it up to the past a new bipartisan bill released yesterday. We will actually move the track, including we also need stable and flexibility with TV rights and prevent super leagues. For the players are making millions, this might be easier said than done. Here now is former Harvard University basketball coach, very quickly, the show, Bruce Pearl. Bruce, I know this just came out, and you went from the most structured thing in the world where the players don't get paid, they better not get a job, to they're getting paid more money in college in some cases than in the pros. From what we've seen, what do you think? Well, something's got to be done, right? Because it seems to be fixed. The courts have said that when the NCAA is operating for years, is against the law. And so our lawmakers are finally doing it. A couple good things about it. First of all, it's bipartisan. Second, it's in the upper chamber. Third, they're going to put some rules around transfers and a salary cap and how old kids can be. I mean, college kids should be playing basketball between the ages of 18 and 24. Not in their upper 20s. We got kids that are coming out of the NBA, coming over from Europe, that have been pros for years, and it's costing our high school kids scholarship opportunities. So I think this is a very good step. So, I mean, for example, there's NIL transparency. Find out who's given to what school. There's going to be revenue sharing and forcing and providing legal certainty for revenue. Okay. Agents have to register. That certainly helps because agents now go to high school kids, correct? Now, 19-year-olds might have a shot. They know. They pick that school. You only got one transfer. Not so much, hey, I got till I'm 25, I got 3 years to do this. You start for the coaches, too. Because then the players stop trying out the coaches, correct? Correct. And when they get a transfer every year, it's like free agency. And kids don't sign up to be contract. That's not thinking in the real world. And then we give off each other's roster and says, yes, we're teaching the kids that's free, but they're trying. I think it's a very, very good first step. Now, for me, I'm going to say, I would want to this. I'm going to see that money in the sky. I really know. I'm glad they stepped in and fixed the problem. But I want to reward sports. We're losing in sports. This not sustainable the money that we're spending right now. I think there's an outstanding first step. What I prefer is in Congress we do the NCAA and the leaders. I'm really going to give them antitrust protection to do exactly what they're going to do right now. I'd rather have the NCAA run it than the government run it. So big time sports and there's other sports that are important for the athletes that just don't bring in revenue. So let's talk about something we need to move on with. There's an Israeli Day parade, and for decades, it's huge. It's in New York City, and for the first time ever, a mayor of New York City is not going to that parade. You're going. You think it matters that he is not going? Of course it matters for him. And the question is, why is he not going? Is he going to march in the St. Patrick's Day parade? Is he going to march in a parade for Latinos or African Americans? Why the Jews? But he said, what is happening? They don't have Jews. Okay, it's just Israel. I said, what is it about Israel that you don't like? Apartheid or genocide or things like that. All that stuff, not too. Corruption for the man. That's what we believe in. No, there was a Palestinian state. How many Jews do you have to be there? How many Jews right now live in Gaza? How many Jews right now live in Iraq or in Jordan? And Palestinian home places. What do you guys? How many millions? There's no genocide. There is no apartheid, and they sell them this lie, and they serve in office too. And they serve in office. And what's frustrating is when you have leaders like this, people believe them. And they believe the lie. And that's what's really had anti-Semitism and criticism of Israel on the rise. And so I'm embarrassed by it. And I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be a patriot. And I'm proud on Sunday to be celebrating Jews in New York. Part of the reason is that the Jewish community came to the city and celebrated our ancestral homeland. In the same city, we got everything we're doing everything also financially, most successful business in New York City, Jewish, and they could go anywhere. Maybe they will pick up states and go there. But he wants to help the poor. He wants to help other people. And what group of people have done more in charity, in tzedakah, healthcare, giving back to the Jewish community in New York? He's going to run them out of New York, and it's got a real problem. It was always great to see.
She didn't know what it really needed. But the moment she stepped in, life changed. She now has power and space to live a life I might never live.
Seriously?
The all new outreach made for a life of death. Get accepted along and to a local housing unit.
These sanctuary cities where the local radical left Democrats aren't allowing us to do our job and enforce federal laws, then we shouldn't be processing international flights into their cities either, because they don't want us to enforce immigration, but they want us to process immigration at their facilities, and nothing about that makes sense to me.
Meanwhile, in New York, sheriffs are threatening legal action against New York Governor Kathy Hochul over her push to ban local cooperation agreements with ICE. Our next guest is one of those sheriffs, Todd Hood, the sheriff of Madison County, also a candidate for New York Lieutenant Governor. Sheriff Hood, what does Hochul's push to ban cooperation with the ICE mean for the safety of those very immigrant communities that Hochul says he really wants to be safe?
It is, first of all, thank you for having me on this morning. It is crazy. I know sheriffs across the state are outraged at what she's doing. We participate in the 217 program with ICE, the Warrant Service Officer program in our correctional facility. So when an illegal immigrant comes into our correctional facility on a criminal charge, we are able to hold them. They come to our jail within 45 minutes and take them into custody. We don't have to go into anybody's house. We don't have to do raids on businesses or schools or anything like that. The program is amazing and it keeps my deputies safe. So that's what we're doing with it right now. And for her to ban this, I've spent my whole career cooperating with agencies, the FBI, the DEA, the U.S. Marshals. I worked in numerous task forces with them, and that is how you get things done in law enforcement, is teamwork and cooperation. And for her to block this or attempt to block this is crazy. It's going to make people less safe in New York State, and there is no good reason for this at all.
Everybody's going to be less safe, not just your sheriffs. It's going to be everybody, because anytime you can go from just needing like one or two people in a jail to process somebody to dozens upon dozens of it. I've been on ICE raids. I know how extensive it gets. There's a lot of bodies there, and yes, things typically go according to plan, but if they don't, that's when you put the safety of the community at risk. So my question for you, Sheriff, is there any legitimate reason that Kathy Hochul and other sanctuary governors would do this other than trying to pander to the far left of their party?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. We law enforcement's been around a long time in our country, and we know how to keep people safe. And people that try to chime in on this, like Governor Hochul, to implement things like this, have no idea what they're doing. They don't consult with us. They don't talk to us. They implement these crazy changes to try to stay on track with their beliefs or their political parties. And nobody's safe with what they're doing. And that's just not good.
We left this in talking about what Secretary Mark William Mueller wants to do. Do you agree with his plan to eliminate customs processing in these sanctuary cities that have major airports, looking at New York, LA, as a way to really turn the screws on these governors to basically say, look, you're going to lose a lot of economic activity. There's going to be chaos at your airports. You don't want that. So cooperate with ICE, and we won't do that. Do you agree with this plan?
Yeah, the problem is, that hurts the people if we do that. We need to keep doing our jobs, and we need the politicians to support us. Bruce Blakeman, my running partner, he supports the police. He supports corrections, and that's what we need from our government, is for them to support us and let us do our jobs to keep people safe. We don't need people like Governor Hochul coming in and messing things up and, trying to ban us working with them. The sheriff's house is made for all of them. in-house marshals, FBI, that's where they go when they first get into the system on a federal charge in your county jail. The same thing with us, and that's what we do. We keep people safe, and that's what we're trying to do with these blatant evictions. Get this actually thrown out so this is not implemented.
I asked you earlier why she would do this, and you said it's pandering to the far left. But why do they pander to the far left? What does the left gain from this? You know, prioritizing criminal illegal aliens and their enjoyment of life over the citizens. Those of us that pay our taxpayer dollars, that want a government, federal, state, and local, to just keep it government. I don't get that. I can never answer that question.
You know, they've gone too far, first of all, and it's gonna come back to haunt them in this election cycle. You know, they went too far, they're not listening to the people, and that's one of the biggest mistakes somebody in politics can do. Bad legislation, you know, there's just no reason for it, and we are gonna hopefully fight this and win. Bruce Blakeman has his legal team on this in Nassau County right now, and we're going to go after it and try to get it removed.
Sheriff Todd, thank you for your time this morning, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Affecting water isn't an art, it's a science. Exactly like you want it. Some fixtures stay clean, skin softer, hair shiny. Coffee is tastier, even preferences last long. Water is better because it's a thing. Protecting water, protecting life.
The 100 year fair pages is the Ebola outbreak is central Africa. It is setting up a health facility in the Americans exposed to the virus. Secretary of State Marco Rubio speaking on the process during yesterday's conference.
Our number one obligation, we're involved in foreign policy. Within our foreign policy, the number one priority of our foreign policy is to protect the Americans. We cannot and will not allow cases of Ebola in the United States. Multiple involved here also are involved in tracking people just to make sure that nobody comes into this country that has Ebola and creates a problem for us. And we feel like we've got good efforts in place to do that. Americans should feel assured that the President and his administration is doing everything we can to protect them on that front.
Family and medicine physician Dr. Jessica Gray joins me now. Dr. Gray, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Can we keep Ebola out of this country?
So no one can actually guarantee 0 reported cases of Ebola, and that's just the thing about it. But we have done things back in 2014 outbreak in West Africa that actually kept and actually done spreading into the United States. So there's not a for sure way to get 100% keep it out, but we have been able to practice some effective methods to keep it out. And the past outbreak was very important. We're kind of doing some of those similar things as well.
All right, so Dr. The International Rescue Committee said on Tuesday that the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda is growing faster than the Congo to Kenya. And this is becoming what could be the deadliest on record. What is different about this strain?
So there are multiple strains of Ebola, and this strain is the one that's a little bit more rare. It's not new, though. We've actually known about this strain since 2007. It was identified first in Uganda. It is called the Bundibugyo strain of Ebola. The other one is that we may have known about a little more is the Zaire strain. The problem is right now that we do not have an effective vaccine or antibody treatment the way we do for the Zaire strain. So this is a more rare, potentially the same amount of lethality. We're looking at 25 to 50% lethality with this infection, and it doesn't have some of the therapy that we are used to using with the other strain.
Tell us what happens to somebody when they contract Ebola.
So the very first symptoms of Ebola are pretty similar to things like an influenza infection. You're going to have things like fever, severe GI symptoms. The problem is that you don't really know that you're having Ebola until the symptoms get much worse necessarily, unless you have that direct exposure. everyone's always concerned about getting this, traveling on an airplane or something like that. You're not going to get it that way. It's got to be direct exposure to the bodily fluids of someone who's had it. The biggest concern is in the end, without supportive care, people have multi-system organ failure.
And Dr. Gray, finally here, the White House said recently that they're setting up a facility in Kenya to treat Americans who have been exposed to Ebola. Usually those Americans would be sent back to the United States, but this time it's being treated in Kenya. Tell us about this change and anything is a good idea.
So I can really only comment that, there's more of a policy issue there. I can really only comment on the medical part of it. Really the biggest thing is that we need to make sure patients who contract Ebola need to have the highest level of care. They need to be given care in an ICU setting. And so if we are going to provide this care, we need to make sure that it is at the highest level possible. Traditionally, we would think that the United States has the highest level possible. So if they're able to create the high level of care and the intensive support care that's needed in this Kenyan area for care, then perhaps it can be a good opportunity to provide care quickly to these individuals affected.
Yeah, time's of the essence here, and so hopefully that exact thing is what will transpire. Dr. Gray, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Perfecting water isn't an art. It's a science. A precision engineered connected water system makes water flows inside and out. So pictures stay clean, skin soften, shine. It's new. Even the process is slow. Perfecting water is this better. It's a clean. Perfecting water.
Still finding making a shocking revelation about husband Joe during his disastrous presidential debate.
It beat Medicare.
It beat Medicare. Former First Lady admitted the vaccine thought the president was having a stroke.
Were you horrified because you saw it unfold? I wasn't horrified, I was frightened, because I had never, ever seen Joe like that before or since. Never since. Yes. Or never seen you ever. No. What happened? I don't know. As I watched it like that little guy was having a stroke.
But that did not stop her from congratulating Joe on his performance at the time.
No, you did such a great job. You answered every question you asked. And let me ask the crowd, what did Trump do?
Wow. Biden ultimately, as you know, ended up dropping out of the race less than a month later. Stepbrother and accused killer will remain free ahead of trial. Federal judge yesterday refused to detain the former teen. Yet again, a decision that sparked a sharp response from one prosecutor who asked, what more does it take to prove someone is a danger? A second body? Former FBI Special Agent and former Crimes on the High Seas coordinator Nicole Parker. Nicole, why does this judge continue to twist himself in knots to keep this kid free before trial?
That's an excellent question. And I can tell you that, in the eyes of the prosecution, and in my personal opinion, I do believe that he's a danger to the community, although he's 16 years old. But the key element here is that he is being charged as an adult. And this is in the federal system. So that is quite rare. In the cases that I looked, it was very rare to see a minor charged in the federal system after anything does happen, but it's not as common as you would think. And due to the seriousness of the charges, because it is a first-degree murder, it is an aggravated sexual abuse case. But by law, they cannot house juveniles in jail with adults in the federal system. The Federal Bureau of Prisons does not house juveniles. So anyone under the age of 18 cannot be incarcerated with adults. And so I think that's what Judge Flores, I mentioned he's an magistrate judge for the Federal District of Florida, who's an outstanding judge. But I think he always very perplexing when people are listening to how is this even happening?
Very interesting analysis. Sorry, let me take it. Can I get into this?
Yeah.
Are you concerned for the safety of the two minors that this accused killer now lives with? Are you worried for them?
I am worried for them. I think it's extremely dangerous to have someone who's allegedly committed these crimes. These are the worst crimes possible. We're talking about a first-degree murder, aggravated sexual abuse. But again, I do not know that this is going to be a permanent situation. Right now, he's being monitored on a tracking system with GPS. I believe the judge is going to look at the housing options in Central Florida as we discussed. And I do believe that eventually there will be a system put together. The federal system will work with the local, contracted out, and I do believe that he will not be out of prison until the trial. That's just my personal opinion. I think there needs to be more research done, and I do believe that he eventually will be put into the prison system prior to his detention time.
You gave a great answer, a great explanation as to what the judge could have been thinking. It may not be what we instinctively want to hear, but it was a very good answer. That said, is there any consideration for the father of Anna Kempner, who has pleaded for this accused killer to go behind bars while he awaits trial? He's talked to media, he's been in court just saying, where's the consideration for me? I'm the father of the young lady who was killed.
Absolutely, and I think that his voice is extremely important, extremely powerful. He's the victim of his crime. He lost his own child. I believe for him that that the defendant should be in prison and not be living in a home with a man after which he might be defended. And he's told about the court, but again, I believe that the judge is going to be looking at the housing options in Central Florida and will be looking to, look at the contract where they can put things into the prison system prior to
And to your point, this same judge said if this guy was 20, it would be a much different situation. The fact that he's 16 sort of runs credence to everything you just said through his explanation. Nicole Parker, as always, thank you. You can pick up Nicole's book, The Two FBIs, The Bravery and Betrayal I Saw in My Time at the Bureau, wherever you get your books. Nicole, as always.
Thank you.
Look at these numbers. 340B medicine markups are a gold mine. A nonprofit hospital like ours can mark up medicines 1,000% or more. Arthritis, cancer medicine. There are no movements for how we keep program profits, and you can work for us.
It's still patient, really?
I went 340B markups.
All right, John, listen to this. We are less than a week from Los Angeles voters heading to the polls in a primary race for mayor, where incumbent Mayor Karen Bass is facing heated competition from former reality star Spencer Pratt and progressive Nikki Muhammad. One of the key issues facing the city is wildfire response, with LA firefighters speaking out about the disastrous state of their department, saying they are working marathon shifts up to 120 hours long, missing paychecks and being pushed to the limit, while the department's budget remains flat despite rising wildfire risks. Joining us now, the president of United Firefighters of Los Angeles City Local 112, Doug Post. Doug, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Tell us more about what it's like to be a firefighter in Los Angeles right now.
Yeah, well, good morning. First off, I want to start is that our department is half the size it should be. And that's the biggest deal to us. And we have the same number of firefighters as we had in the 1960s. We actually have 6 fewer fire stations than we had in the 1960s. And that's what we're fighting for, is more firefighters, more paramedics. And so we pushed a ballot measure that will be on the November ballot And that's the big push of the Los Angeles Fire Department right now.
Not only did you push the ballot measure, the Los Angeles firefighters and paramedics actually took it upon themselves. You guys wrote this measure, so tell us more about what this is in and what you're hoping to pass.
Yeah, so our ballot measure is a half-cent sales tax, and the push is that we need more firefighters. We have half the number of firefighters as we should. We had the same numbers in the 1960s, and that's a big deal to us. So we wrote our own ballot language. We pushed forward this ballot measure, and it's not only to help our fire department, but to serve our citizens of LA correct and be able to respond within the amount of time that we should be there.
I mean, this is your reality, but I think that what you're saying will come as a shock to a lot of people, given the Palisades fire that took place last year, and the fact that Los Angeles is already one of the most highest tax cities in the country, to have an underfunded fire department in a city where wildfires are expected to happen every single year is one of the greatest examples of political mismanagement in this country. When it comes to that, a spokesperson for Mayor Bass told the California Post that these issues have been decades in the making. What is your reaction to that comment?
That is true. This is not about one person or this mayor or the last mayor. It's all the mayors combined. For the last 20 years I've been on the job, we haven't grown at all. We stayed the same, yet our runs have gone from 100,000 to 500,000. Our members are going on more runs, more people, and our push is where our response times have gone from 4.5 minutes to 8 minutes, and that's unacceptable for the citizens of LA.
That is the mayor's voice a bit more. Your union has not made an endorsement, but how do you feel about Senator Pratt?
Again, I think our biggest push right now is that we support the ballot measure. We didn't take a stance because we wanted to focus in on the ballot measure. Some of our members will like Spencer Pratt, for sure, but our main focus right now is to watch after the primaries, and then possibly we'll consider something after that.
Well, we're at the beginning of fire season in LA, so we thank you for all that you're doing to keep Americans safe despite these egregious funding issues. Doug hosts Black for us this morning. Doug, we thank you very much.
I mean, he's a vegan who thinks God is non-binary, that there's actually 6 biological sexes. It's hard to imagine someone more radical than that.
I'll be the first to admit that I missed the mark on some of those old statements. But what Ken Paxton is doing is clipping my cringy comments to distract from his career of corruption.
So the Texas Senate race heating up with opposing candidates, Republican Ken Paxton and Democrat James Talarico, already taking shots at each other. Let's bring in former Trump White House Deputy Communications Director Roman Jarabi and host of the Tudor Dixon podcast. Tudor Dixon, thank you both for coming on. Tudor Dixon, to you first. You kind of see the strategy, right? We're seeing it. You have James Talarico saying that he's trying to back off the old radical statements, at the same time painting Paxton as a corrupt individual.
You know, Chris, I think you have it right. These are radical statements. They're not crazy, might be extreme, but these are radical. And this is exactly how we feel. Let's not forget what Alan Mary said that Mary was the original story that God allows abortion. I mean, this guy is not just a radical when it comes to trans things, but he's also a radical when it comes to changing what Christianity is. And that's just not going to fly in Texas.
Meantime, you had Benny Johnson, who was on Jesse Waters' Prime, and he was talking about Spencer Pratt, Roma. He said the following.
They want the people who actually build things, created things, and live where they drink the water that they drink, and experience the fires that they experience. And so Spencer Pratt bringing that story, that whole I'm you story, is going to win it for him. I think that the people of LA are going to say, well, I'm not MAGA,
But now whatever the hell this is, the communist revolution has a very, very bad precedent. I mean, look, I talk to Democrats all the time who, as Benny was saying, are tired of whatever this is.
That's exactly right, Trace. You and I both know California specifically do not want a label. They want change. They don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. Frankly, neither does the voting system, which is why we have a double primary for elections in California. And when it comes to the real issues, the American people in that state need to know that you understand what they're going through. You've seen the crime. You've seen the crisis on your streets. You've seen the drugs and the homelessness. It's got to change. And if you have Spencer Pratt out there saying, I've been there, I know the pain, and I'm going to fix it, they believe him because he has no reason to say anything different. He knows it firsthand, just like they do.
Meantime, kind of sticking on California for a second here, too, Dixon. You had Billy Bush, who was on Martha's show today, The Story. He was talking about L.A. homelessness.
There's a sadness that comes and an empathy that comes for homelessness, but aggravated, angry drug addicts who are in your face and scaring people, that's not okay. And under Karen Beck, it has gotten worse and worse. It is a terrible situation. And this guy stepped up. Who else stepped up? He's the best chance Los Angeles has.
I mean, yeah, we certainly know that Karen Bass is not the elixir here. I mean, Karen Bass wants to replace the teeth of these meth addicts, and she forgets about the meth still being in the mix to ruin the teeth all over again. I mean, it's got to be something else has got to be done here. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think that Spencer Pratt coming out with his plan for homelessness was amazing because people are hearing for the first time someone address the actual issue. And I think Billy Bush made a great point when he said these people are violent. And not because they're naturally violent people, because they're drug addicts. They're drug addicts, they've abandoned their families, or in some cases, their families can't even deal with them. So Spencer Pratt comes out with a real plan that's going to get them into rehab, that's going to keep them off drugs for 15 days, and then get them into a system that can get them back on track and for real life. That's compassionate, that's loving, that's what people should be doing. But instead, there are too many people in California that need honestly, there are a lot of solutions.
Yeah, I just have a wonder for 40 years. Alcohol and drugs is the common denominator in Joe Durabi, Ben Shapiro talking about Democrats hating on America.
Understand, the Democratic Party is moving toward a full-scale embrace of people who make common cause with the Chinese Communist Party, the Cuban government, and actual terrorists, Islamic terrorists in the Middle East. That's crazy. You know how much you have to hate America to truly believe that?
I mean, it is crazy because the hate is no longer being hidden at all. I mean, it's almost a point of pride on the left.
Yeah, and let's point out that we have given, time and time again, opportunity for the Democrats to change course. President Trump continues to give Democrats chances. He brought Mamdani into the Oval Office. He brought Karen Bass in, and we've seen already neither one of them have done anything that they promised they would do to fix their state and to bring America back on course. So you have to believe what you see with your own eyes. And the reality is Democrats are going further and further to the left, no matter how crazy it makes them look. And the American people are fed up.
People in Seattle are saying that they didn't get paid off before. Virginia, the same thing, Dixon, on the Durabi point, people.
This is not it's a science and the precision engineering of the medical water system makes water tanks feel exactly like the water tank. So fixtures stay clean, skin softer, hair shiny. Cleanliness takes time, even if appliances last longer. Everything water touches is better with the science of connect. Protecting water, protecting life.
Let's bring in the Nevada Bel Air Rabbi Mensch, the founder of El Imam magazine, who expanded led Iran during the Islamic Revolution through the Amazon and Terry Stapleback. Thank you all for coming on. Shirin, you first. Marco Rubio says he prefers the diplomatic route in Iran, but there are military options available.
I just want to remind everybody, Mr. President, as well, you have other options available to you that doesn't work. But the bottom line is that we prefer the negotiated and diplomatic route. succeed, and you're going to get every chance to succeed, Mr. President.
Yeah, he said a couple of times they prefer the diplomatic route. What are the people inside Iran, what they prefer? If they would like to see diplomacy or if they would like to see something a little bit more expensive.
Well, we've known for the past 47 years that the Iranian regime doesn't understand what diplomacy is, right? They will make a deal and they will stick to it. We saw that with the JCPOA, and we've seen it time and time again. Marco Rubio is a brilliant statesman, and what he's saying is we won't go with diplomacy. Of course, we're American. That's the way we go forward. But Americans have a different language with diplomacy. The only thing they don't understand in Iran is strength. There's strength while also making sure that we keep on this strong
Yeah, Rabbi, your thoughts? I mean, diplomacy would always seem like it's a card to play. Preferably a card to play. And sometimes maybe not.
Our president loves making deals. So he feels he'll be able to do it, and he'd rather go and bring an end to this instead of killing people. I get it. But here's the deal. If he's dealing with somebody, then how did the ROTC go and start shooting drones today at Kuwait? If the regime and the ROTC are tied together, then who are you dealing with if they order it, go and shoot them? So the reason why a lot of Americans, and if you watch Fox News, even the general election, we're only talking to them. And the president kind of come up today and said, don't worry, we're going to do it. Let's go back to that.
Yeah, General Jeff, you're talking about General Jeff Kennedy said the president is, in this case, showing his patience for the people.
You can see the president he wants this thing done as soon as we can get it done. At the same time, he's trying to feed back to the public. I'll take it. He's trying to tell them, I'm not buying into a pressure point on the company. Let's say that they get for on the phone because for the midterm election, we actually brought the issue up for them to digest it.
I mean, he talks about digesting it. It certainly is food for thought for the IRGC.
Yeah, I think two things here, Trace. Number one, we're trying to make a deal with jihadist fanatics. That's number one. And number two, sadly, the Iranian regime is also patient. And even if the president, if anyone can do it, he can do it, get a deal with this regime. They're looking, Trace, I believe, that to 2028. They're saying, hey, after Trump is gone, all bets are off. The regime may toe the line for 2.5 years, then they're back to their old ways once President Trump leaves office. And that way would be obviously rearming the proxy, restarting the nuclear program, bolstering the ballistic missile program, etc. So the regime may try to just play this, string it out, and wait until 2028, 2029, and then for them it would be a new day.
Yeah. I wanted to get your take, both of your take on this, because I thought it was fascinating. This is the New York Times Siena poll on Israel, right? We're talking about support. Trump's phone, they're saying, New York Times Siena thing, on Israel, the next GOP presidential candidate should follow Trump's lead, move in a different direction. You still see a significant number says to follow Trump's lead here, Sharon, but it's kind of moving down a little.
I think what people need to remember is when we talk about the greatest ally in the Middle East, the greatest ally that we have in the world is Israel. We saw how they fought for us, shoulder to shoulder. There is no other country in the world who's got our back the way Israel does. So I think sometimes the questioning and the way we phrase these questions is better to be unique. It's very dangerous if we see what we're doing. Because the truth is that we have Israel and we have Israel who are the weak. And that's the thing we do.
Yes, but and then on the GOP, they still robust support for Israel. So that's a lucky sign.
It is a lucky sign. But you must remember that there is a lot of people being brainwashed in Israel. We have no idea. I see it, I feel it, and I hear it. I get emails from people on the conservative side. What is it about Israel that all of a sudden everybody's saying? And everybody feels America's only this war because of Israel. Wrong. Israel was fighting terrorism for all these years. Now they started threatening America by showing you, I'm about to get a missile that's going to hit Europe and America. And unfortunately, I think Qatar has a lot of money being spent to get a lot of politicians to be against Israel.
We haven't found out. Retired Embassy Mark Solari said this is not about peace deals, it's about succession.
Trump is the front. This is what Trump is. Less about a peace deal and more about a succession deal. The original handful of fifth generation is never dead. The second you will be up in the coalition, but you will realize that the few million people who live in the for this regime that takes time.
Yeah, we can do about succession and it's still about the individual stuff and state of the
Thanks, I think it's a combination. Number one, any deal must include the removal of any enriched uranium from Iranian soil. But secondly, and then we've gone into 2028, 2029, the flip side of that, the prayer is that this regime will be gone by then. God willing, this Iranian regime will be out the window, but I don't know if that will happen if we come to some sort of deal here which leaves elements what's left of the regime in place. So it's a needle President Trump's trying to thread, and we'll see how it plays out in the next few days. But Iran remains in changes. We saw it again today. Yeah, there's that direct to the other government.
Well, the FoxNews.com and Sense Department is under the impression the city of Seattle is waking up. Think about it. After one famous movie and all these years, Sleepless in Seattle is becoming a thing. And it's a thing because the city decided to follow a luminous trend and a leftist socialist mayor named Katie Wilson. And now some unhappy residents are not just pushing back against the mayor, they're looking at barricades to block the floor because there's not been drone shootings in the cities they were happening for. The residents are the question is anyone surprised? Because back in 2020, the Katie Wilson was not yet mayor Wilson. She didn't just call for defunding police, she wanted to get this ban police department and start it. Now the mayor is trying to figure out how to stop the gunfire. The same mayor who chuckled at the thought of rich people fleeing the new tax laws, literally laughing off the exodus of businesses and billionaires by saying, the ones that leave, like, bye. And now that Starbucks is expanding in Nashville and contracting in Seattle, even Democrats who supported Wilson are worried, concerned about crime, the economy, their family. And common sense thinks the concern is legit. It is what happens when bullets fly, barricades rise, and businesses and billionaires say, like, bye.
Same one, same frustration. Every day feels the same. Until one day, turns away, and it hurts almost. No, it's just a right thing.
Yeah, there's so many $5 and for food. Like nobody first deposit, you don't take the dollars, and you can look all your bills during this time. So you don't need to take it off.
Skills turn into criminals on the smartphone. Download it. Get ready to play today.
Urging you to uphold the First Amendment and to protect the right of citizen journalists like Nick Shirley and others to do the work that they've been doing. And they've been exposing fraud. And this is fraud that taxpayers ought to know about. This is the dollars of taxpayers, and we have an obligation to make sure that the transparency is provided.
Well, there you have California State Assembly member and friend of the show, Carl DeMaio, trying and failing to stop Democrats from passing the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Let's bring in former DHS spokeswoman and attorney Katie Zachariah. I mean, Katie, I don't know what to say. You have California lawmakers, and they are literally saying that they want nothing to do with any of these journalists that are exposing all of this fraud like Nick Shirley did. I mean, this is a problem, and they just want to, block their ears and hum their way through this whole thing.
Well, we need to get this straight. The wife of the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, Mia Bonta, introduced this bill. What is the key job of the Attorney General of California?
to investigate fraud. And what is happening in our state? President Trump, J.D. Vance, U.S. Attorney Bill O'Reilly, Dr. Oz, they're all exposing the billions of fraud. So it is very, very disturbing that you have the wife of the Attorney General introducing a bill that silences, that chills First Amendment free speech, investigating this fraud, and absolutely shows that they don't want to expose fraud. They want to keep hiding it.
Yeah, and you see the picture, the video demonstrated Dick Shirley, who did notice work trying to uncover all of this in Minnesota and California, and it frightens these politicians to no end. Brings out the California Post headline reads following here: Spencer Pratt, who of course is running for mayor of Los Angeles, tortures Mayor Vance for axing street repair program as potholes plague Los Angeles. We wanted to do this because Pratt says that $100 million or so, we have checked this out, we know all this money, we have no idea where it's going, but it's going elsewhere to homeless programs and so on and so forth. And California has the highest gas tax in the world. And worse roads, and and he's right.
He's right, and it has the highest gas tax, and yet a $100 million federal fund grant had to go to Los Angeles County to help with them with their potholes. And what Spencer Pratt is exposing is, where did that $100 million actually go, and why didn't that federal grant go to cover the potholes? Trace, but I've lived here a long time. Every time I go in to get my oil changed and alignment, I need extra time to readjust it. And I was talking to the guy, and he said, this is the worst city for alignment. And I can tell you, you need that alignment fixed. I don't want to keep getting my alignment every one pothole filled. It's very basic. It's an important thing to fix your infrastructure. It's funny, but it's one of those things where it's at the industry afterlife. And it's so sad that the road in Los Angeles, other words, really need it's unbelievable. I have to say that the media really got this whole President Trump going to Wall Street. I mean, you can watch that and say, they're pretty what to tell you, you're going to Wall Street, second time in line, it's over, it's $50 and they definitely didn't care again the rest of the day. Crickets from the media. I watched my whole extreme. Just President Trump is going into Walter Reed, and this is terrible. Actually, President Trump's 6-month visit turned out to be 100% perfect bill of health. And yet, what? The original sin, Jake Tapper's book on Biden's cognitive decline. Nobody covered Biden's cognitive decline or ever asked if he took a cognitive test or a physical, asked for the results. And yet, President Trump's perfect bill of health goes silent on the media. And if you want to look, this Truth Social says it is perfect, and we are very grateful for your help, Mr. President.
Very sad. The president has a finger out, and people are just like, just zip it up and move on. Katie, thank you.
We're here for dog parents. For parents who get up extra early for a workout. For parents who plan the best play dates. For parents who prioritize problem solving. And for parents who know it's essential to keep mealtime exciting. That's why Nom Nom's vet-developed recipes burst with the nutrition dogs need and the taste and texture they crave. Nom Nom, now available at trynom.com/TV, Chewy, and PetSmart.
Residents in Seattle now taking crime fighting into their own hands, building homemade barricades to block off neighborhood streets from gun violence. Christina Coleman is live with the new information on it.
The other thing about hot mess, some Seattle residents could be turned into their own hands and set up makeshift barricades to keep it in the street. The blood building in the neighborhood is ongoing crime.
Forgiving those things is really the culmination of people that are affected.
There's shot at cars and holes in the area, and they say they tried to help in the city for years.
City 70. That's unacceptable, and it's wrong, and Barrett needs to step up to the plate.
It's terrifying to live here, and it's even more terrifying that the city is absolutely doing nothing to protect the citizens in this area.
Terrifying indeed, and the city says the barricades set up by the residents illegally were not condemned.
They'll throw out some press release that says, hey, we're going to have some more police action, some more proactive policing in the neighborhood. The problem is, you're not enough cops to do that. We have just a little under 900 officers for the entire city of Seattle, in a city that needs about 60.
But between, I think, 100 and 150
But
only 11% rebate at Menards, right? Garage doors have been making for over 50 years. From traditional to modern styles, you're sure to find garage doors of your own. This 9x7 insulated garage door is a value of $649.99. No manufacturer rebate. This also requires garage door opener from GE. Comes with a pro-test system. There's your door opens. During the power outages, get one for a value of $189.99. No manufacturer rebate.
So in honor of America's 75th anniversary, CBS is making a pit stop in Georgia as part of our For All America road trip. And it wouldn't be a summer road trip without a stop at the beach. Take it away, Steve.
Thank you very much, LJ. That's right. Will, the sea turtle center here. Why does sea turtles come to Jekyll Island? Yeah, Jekyll is a really great native living beach for sea turtles along the coast. Their migratory patterns lead them to come back here during nesting season, maybe October. Thank you very much for the ride. All right, so we've got something special right now. Let's go on over here. Here we go. This is Jamie, and she is the director of the Sea Turtle Center.
Yes, and this is Boba. So Boba's named after Boba Tea. Boba is a juvenile she's been with us here at the Georgia Sea Turtle Center on Jekyll Island for 6 months receiving care.
So, explain why. I know that down in Florida there are a lot of loggerhead turtles, and this is the other place. So the sea turtles know to come to Florida or Georgia because they float around the whole planet.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things that I really love about sea turtles is they're still kind of a mystery to us. We know that they do these things based on instinct, but that pinch lilies, loggerheads, sea turtles, their whole range is kind of cool.
Okay, so you have been reading up.
Yes.
Swimming to get caught?
Eventually, she probably will because a lot of them fall here. So, and again, sea turtles are very instinctual animals. They don't have a lot of parental care. They just know what to do and where to go.
Okay. Is this a good nap?
Just a little bit further. I know you guys. Got this.
I should have worn shorts. Okay.
All right. I think this is fun. All right. So we're gonna kind of lower Boba, and we're gonna wait for her to start relaxing. Keep her breath.
Serious, man. Nice job, though. You just have to focus. It's just not focus, though.
He's not a statistic. He's not an ostracized. He's our